Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, one of my favorite things about Twitter is that I get storm reports from all over the world, and certainly the severe weather that we had on Sunday evening going through the Red River Valley of the South produced quite a bit of it. We saw numerous reports of tornadoes. In fact, you can see the small video up here showing some of the damage through a rain-soaked window, but look at some of the hail that we had out of this as well. Some of those hailstones got quite large, this one here about the size of a baseball, and these were all reported in and around Norman, Oklahoma. In addition to that, as that storm system went through, it's now here in my home state of Illinois, and several of the storms that have come through Illinois today have produced tornadoes. In fact, we even got some video of that, but before I show it to you, take a look at this video. This is in Bozeman, Montana, where they had 7 inches of snow. Just incredible to see what's going on here with these powerful low pressure systems that are moving across the country right now. But as I said, this was the tornado video I wanted to share with you. So this is just north of St. Louis, kind of south and west of Springfield, small community called Wrights, Illinois. And you can see some of the damage here from this tornado in that area. So thinking about all of that, that's where we do have our tornado watch box here. And I live very close to Champaign, so I'm preparing for these storms here just in a few minutes to arrive. So you might hear some thunder at the end of this video. But all of that came from our second of 3 big low pressure systems we're monitoring. So you can see it moving right here through the central corn belt throughout the day today. Now the third system is waiting in the wings, and on this satellite animation you can actually see some of the precipitation, some of the snow, excuse me, this is a radar animation, some of the snow here that is moving through parts of the Great Basin and then eventually into the Snake River Valley and finally coming out here in parts of Wyoming and Montana. And if you just have a look here, this is the all hazards weather map for late this afternoon. National Weather Service has identified 32 separate hazards, and I'll just point out a few things here. This is all winter storm warning in this area. That's that color surrounded by winter weather advisory. Very strong synoptic scale winds to the south, but many of these are wind advisories, wind warnings. We have frost here in the Columbia Basin. Actually, that's a freeze warning there. Same thing for this part of Nevada and the Sierra Nevada there. And then frost along the I-5 corridor. So the deep wave that is moving through the west is a bit of a powerhouse. And it is gathering a lot of strength right now. Just take a look at this animation late in the day here on Monday. This is where that low is going to take shape and move into the Dakotas. And as it does so, it gives us our third round of severe weather. So round 2 is right here today, coming through parts of the Midwest. Round 1 was last night right here. And I guess if there was a round 0, it was the storms that went through this part of the Dakotas over the weekend. Just take note of something though. There are storm systems continuing to be kind of lined up here in the Gulf of Alaska, and this is going to reinforce a deeper trough over the Gulf of Alaska. That's going to be an important point for this forecast coming up here. Okay, so we've seen the storms coming through Illinois. That low pressure system is moving toward the Great Lakes. So what follows it is as this low ejects tomorrow here into the Dakotas, we're going to watch on the 12th for a line of severe storms to first break out in the high plains and then move here across much of the central plains. So right now the Storm Prediction Center has given this an enhanced risk of severe storms right here in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. But this will extend into Nebraska as well. In addition to that, just want to let you know something. This next storm system is going to pack quite a punch in terms of winds. This is through Friday evening, maximum accumulated wind gusts. And just to make a point here, these speeds represented by those colors are the 45 to 55 mile an hour winds. So when you get into the reds right in through here, we may get some wind gusts that are approaching 60 to 65 miles an hour. That's not the storms, that's the wind gusts from the big low pressure system that's coming through. It's already producing very strong winds throughout the mountains in the west clear over to California. That's today. That's why those wind warnings were in place. But let's now use the high-res 18Z NAM to see where things are going. So first system, right here by overnight hours tonight is in Wisconsin, and it'll kind of lose some of its energy in the overnight hours. But the system following it producing snow throughout the Intermountain West, coming into Wyoming and into Montana. Well, throughout the day tomorrow, that snow is going to continue to fall. When does the wave finally get out into the plains? It won't be until Tuesday evening, about 7 o'clock. We're going to see it emerge here. Very strong winds, and that'll also be the time period that this corridor right in through here will open up with those storms. And this is a multi-storm threat here. What I mean by that is there's risk of straight line wind damage, there's risk of hail, and there's risk of tornadoes with this. Now, on the back side, snow will continue in Wyoming and Montana. And by 7 a.m. Wednesday, that low is moving through parts of South Dakota here, leaving its main frontal boundary way out ahead of it here by Wednesday afternoon, coming through parts of the western Corn Belt, extending into the Mid-South and all the way down to Texas. But as you notice here, this area has the chance for getting some snow, especially as you get right in through here. I'll show you the snowfall totals in a second. But this system, by the time we get out there to early Thursday morning, a much slower mover. It's going to go from here to there, from today on Monday all the way through Wednesday night to early Thursday morning. That's that open long wave. It's a much slower wave. So how about total amount of snow? This is from the 12Z European model looking through Thursday morning. And what we've got here is there's a pretty broad swath coming through parts of Montana and Wyoming that could potentially be picking up better than 10, maybe 12 inches of snow. The National Digital Forecast Database through that same time period, notice that this region right in through here in Montana, getting into Wyoming, better chance of seeing a foot, maybe up to 20 inches pushing up against the mountains here in Wyoming. So this is a big snow producer as well. Now to see where it's all going to go from there, I'd like to check in with the upper level flow pattern. And we're going to see some important differences here. Starting things off, there's the wave coming through Illinois. Here's the deeper trough on the backside, and as we expect, it ejects by Wednesday right here. In fact, it comes out Tuesday, but really gets to this point by midday Wednesday. Now, what I want you to take note of is the tilt of this trough. It's negatively tilted, kind of like a backslash. You know, it's leaning this way. Therefore, the flow takes this thing to the north. That is not going to be the system that knocks down the big ridge of high pressure that has been here. But after we get through Wednesday, the next wave that comes through, its tilt is forward. It's got a positive tilt to it. So the flow comes through. And as we go from Thursday into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that low makes it over the Great Lakes. Now, this big ridge that's downstream here still seems to be in place by the time we get to the weekend. But this is going to be bringing in some cooler air across much of the eastern half of the country finally. But what do we notice as we work our way into early next week? Another deep trough of low pressure builds throughout middle and end of next week. It sits right here. In the middle of North America, a ridge builds. But the signals moving forward are for much of the eastern half of the country to be seeing more normal, even cooler than normal temperatures as the heat builds into the midsection of North America. I'll tell you more about what that's going to do to precipitation on both coasts and in the middle part of the country here in just a few moments. First, let's just look at the models. I know you guys like it when I kind of stack these up, so I got the GFS on the left and the European on the right. Okay, first system moving through today, we've already seen that one. So let's get out to Tuesday and finally work our way to Wednesday morning. So there's Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, and Wednesday evening. As we normally expect, the GFS is a little quicker with the northward movement. See it here, and that's where the European has it. But both models really pinning these down about the same location. As we then go through the day on Thursday and work our way toward the end of Thursday into early Friday morning, there is a difference between the models in this next system that kind of comes through the central and western Corn Belt. Now the GFS really wants to bring it through quickly, but watch what the European does. Watch over here, ready? On Friday morning, afternoon, and evening, the European redevelops this over parts of the Mid-South, whereas the GFS is already spreading this through the Great Lakes. And the European taking that more southward trajectory with this second system on Friday, getting into Saturday and Sunday, is going to show up as a difference between the models. I do expect, look at this though, getting into next week, we're going to get some open harvest windows that are going to show up in the midsection of the country. So we will have a reopening of those windows very soon. But let's put this all together and do a little bit of model comparison. First map, next 7 days from the European. Okay, take a quick look at it. Next 7 days from the European. We're drier in the southeast. We have the heaviest precipitation corridor here and again across the northern plains. This is what the GFS says. Little different scenario there, right? European, GFS. And this map, which I've shown you many times, in these colors is where the European is wetter and these where the GFS is wetter. So you can see the GFS taking that next system coming out late this week, quicker to the north through the Great Lakes and Ontario, Quebec. The European keeping it farther to the south of the eastern Corn Belt. That's just one of the many differences in the models looking at just the next 7 days. But they come back together in week 2. Redevelopment of that trough, ridge in the central part of North America, and then a broader trough feature here. And what's good about this pattern is kind of two things. One, it's nothing like last year. Last year, the deep trough was here and there was a ridge off the coast. We don't have that at all. That's the opposite. Therefore, keeping the cold air away, we're going to continue to do that. All right. The cold air is going to be west right now. And it gives us this precip pattern. As I mentioned, we're going to open up those harvest windows again after they've been kind of closed on us pretty tightly here as of late. And Montana, last year, you were so snowy in October, not this year. Okay, yeah, we got snow right now, but nothing like you saw last year. Okay, California, good news here. Starting to see the deeper troughs bringing in more moisture. And it's not just the European that sees it. GFS has got it as well. That's the week 2 precipitation forecast from the GFS. Very similar pattern overall. Now let's flip our attention to temperature before we do the long term. It's been very warm in the central part of North America for the last 15 days. And we're going to see if that's going to continue by looking first at our high temperatures. So here's the high temperatures we experienced today on Monday. There's Tuesday getting into Wednesday. Now this is when the low is fully emerged. So look at how much colder than normal the air is on the backside of this. Well, we know that the first system's not going to push the colder air through. So by Thursday into Friday, we still have the warmth here. But it's the second system coming through in the weekend, ready? Saturday into Sunday that finally pushes that cooler air in place while the ridge redevelops on the backside. So thinking about that, what does our extent of frost look like over the next 7 days? Well, this is from the National Digital Forecast Database. Anywhere that you see gray shading is where we are expecting temperatures to be below 32 degrees Fahrenheit at some point between now and the next 7 days. So the east continues to hang on to the warmer conditions overall. Now we can also look at that by looking at this map, day 5 through 10. So we see the trough redeveloping here, ridging here in the middle part of North America. But the cooler conditions in place here, that's partly due to the redevelopment, or the first time actually, I shouldn't say redevelopment, the development of a trough in the eastern part of the United States. We got some cooler air, not cold, but cooler air in place. And the models kick that down the road. Trough, big ridge in the center part of North America, but we hang on to near normal to cooler than normal temperatures across the east. Now, one of the things we've been discussing is this pattern going to be around for a while? Well, this doesn't help. The MJO popped way out here in phase 5 and 6. And there was a thought, I talked about it last week, of it just staying out here into phase 7 and 8. And if that would have been the case, this would have been completely wrong forecast. It would have flipped the temperature pattern here. But instead, it collapsed into null space and it's going to come back out here somewhere near Africa or the Indian Ocean. It just skipped the Western Pacific entirely. So with that removed as a forecasting metric, what's left? Well, our La Nina, it's still kicking. It's strong. It's much stronger than initially anticipated by me and several other forecasters. And this cool water extending here is also very important for this upcoming fall forecast. So let's go take a look at it. Temperatures right now for the time period of October 22nd to November 21st continue to kind of echo what we've been seeing, right? But there's been some shifts. We no longer have such strong warm anomalies in the middle part of North America. And we do see near normal temperatures here and still the cooler bias west of the Rocky Mountains. So that's a bit of a shift overall, but the models are refusing to break down that deeper trough off the west coast of the United States. That's why we continue to see this. They're kind of just persisting with that pattern. And as a result, we tend to get this for the 30-day outlook. Again, this is October 22nd to November 21st. This has been well forecast, the above normal precipitation for California to the Pacific Northwest. And what we do end up getting is occasionally a wave that ejects into the plains. We will see more open harvest windows happening here, but the forecast is for, near normal, maybe a slight wet bias as we finish October and get into November for the precipitation pattern in the Midwest. We're drier east. Long term, this is where we're going to finish up. I've showed you this before, right? Last forecast video, the December, January, February precip forecast, active Ohio River Valley storm track, active Colorado low storm track, wet in the Northwest. We were concerned about drought development in California or continuation of that, drier conditions here in Texas and possibly along the Gulf Coast. This is what the models have been saying. Well, at the end of last week, we also had released the new NMME forecast, the National Multi-Model Ensemble forecast. It's almost got the exact same outlook for December, January, February. So we'll use this as guidance, something to measure against, and I'll keep a close eye on it for you, okay? Have a good rest of your week, and I'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks.